The Great Wildwood Challenge. Finn and Aspen were the best of friends, a duo of digital dynamos. Their days were a blur of glowing screens, buzzing notifications, and endless scrolling. They could conquer any virtual world, but the real one? Not so much. Surprise! Their parents announced one evening, holding 2 brochures. You're going to Camp Wildwood for the whole summer, and if you complete all the tasks in the Wildwood Challenge, you can come home early. Finn and Aspen stared at the smiling faces on the paper, then at each other, their own faces a mix of confusion and dread. The drive to camp was long and silent. The familiar cityscape faded into a blur of green trees. No Wi-Fi, their parents had warned. No devices. The thought made a cold knot form in their stomachs, but the promise of an early escape gave them a glimmer of hope. Camp Wildwood was even wilder than they imagined. A kind man with a warm smile, their coach named Silas, greeted them. "Welcome, boys," he said. "Get ready to earn your way home. Your first task list is waiting for you at the cabin." Day 1, shelter. The first task was setting up their tent. The instructions were a tangle of ropes and poles. "This is impossible," Finn grumbled, yanking on a rope. "You're doing it wrong," Aspen shot back, pushing a pole into the wrong hole. The tent sagged like a sad, deflated balloon. Day 2, fire. The next day, Silas gave them the task of building a fire. They blew and blew on the small pile of kindling, their faces turning red. Smoke billowed into their eyes, making them cough and tear up. "My eyes are burning," Aspen cried. Day 3, food. Cooking was a disaster. They tried to make pancakes, but the batter was lumpy and the pancakes stuck to the pan. They ended up with a black, crispy mess that looked more like burnt rocks than breakfast. Day 4, laundry. Washing their clothes by hand was a whole new level of effort. They scrubbed and scrubbed, their arms aching, but the dirt seemed to cling to the fabric. They hung the clothes on a line, and they looked more wrinkled than when they started. Day 5, cleanliness. Their cabin felt like a never-ending chore. Dust bunnies multiplied in the corners, and the floor seemed to get dirtier the more they swept. They sighed, wondering if they would ever get the hang of it and finally get to go home. Day 6, navigation. A long hike through the woods was planned for the morning. "Are we there yet?" Finn complained after only 10 minutes. "My feet hurt," Aspen whined. Silas just smiled and pointed to a bright red cardinal perched on a branch. Day 7, foraging. Later that day, they were sent to pick berries. They were surprised to find it was actually fun. They raced to see who could fill their basket first, their fingers stained purple and blue from the sweet, juicy fruit. Days turned into weeks, and something shifted. They learned to work together. Finn became a master of knots, and Aspen could make a fire with a single match. The tent stood tall and proud. The pancakes were golden and fluffy, and their cabin was spotless. Day 45, the final challenge. Silas gave them a map and a small bag of supplies. "You'll spend the night on your own," he said. "This is the final task to complete the Wildwood Challenge. Trust your skills and each other." A mix of fear and excitement bubbled inside them. They hiked deep into the woods, the setting sun painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. They found a perfect clearing and, without a single argument, set up their tent. It was fast and easy, a far cry from their first attempt. Next, they built a fire. Aspen gathered the kindling, and Finn arranged the wood. A single spark from the flint and steel was all it took. The fire crackled to life, chasing away the evening chill. As they cooked their dinner over the flames, they talked about everything and nothing. They looked up at the sky, a blanket of 1,000,000 stars they had never truly seen before. "I don't even miss my phone," Finn whispered. "Me neither," Aspen replied. The next morning, they packed up their camp and hiked back. Silas was waiting with a wide smile. "You did it," he said, handing them a certificate. "You've completed the Wildwood Challenge. You're no longer digital dynamos. You're woodsmen, adventurers, and, most importantly, still best friends." The 2 months flew by. They had learned to live in the real world, to rely on their hands and their wits. They were on their way home, but this time the familiar cityscape didn't feel so important. They were excited to share their stories. They arrived home. Their parents were thrilled to see them, but their devices were waiting, untouched, on the coffee table. They didn't rush to them. They had a new world to explore, and it wasn't on a screen. Instead, they went to the backyard, found a few sticks, and started to build a small fire pit, ready for their next adventure, together in the real world.